Crazy Town Banana Pants. Really?
If you haven't got problems, I feel bad for your son. I got 99 problems and a bitch ain't one.
Hello everybody, Donlinedude here, and welcome to my review of the Superior Spider-Man issues 1 to 3. Comic book fans are no stranger to the idea of an established superhero mantle being taken on by another person. Superheroes like Batman, Iron Man, Captain America, Ghost Rider, and The Flash have all played host to more than one alter ego. Now, while this can be an inspired idea, you have to be very careful with who you pick as the new version of whatever superhero is getting this treatment. You don't want to be on the receiving end of a lynch mob of angry fans. Dick Grayson was absolutely the right choice for the new Batman when Bruce Wayne was seemingly killed off in Final Crisis. He wasn't only the first Robin and Batman's protege, but the fans' choice as well. But you don't always have to go with established characters. Miles Morales won skeptics over when he debuted as the new Ultimate Spider-Man in 2011. And why stop at superhero identities? Giving the roster for a superhero team an overhaul can definitely be beneficial. Just look at the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're getting their own movie. Unfortunately, the new Spider-Man isn't just a poor choice when compared to other candidates, but he's also not written very well in these first 3 issues. Otto Octavius suffers from hubris of the first degree, but that doesn't mean that he can't be somewhat likable. Iron Man is the perfect example of a flawed hero done right. He's arrogant and self-absorbed, but he also cares about his friends and loved ones, and tries to atone for any mistakes that he's made. Otto has no positive attributes here. He has no noble desire to be the hero, and he looks down on absolutely everyone, in this story arc at least. What makes all this worse is that Otto is completely responsible for the death of Peter Parker, so he already has half the fanbase against him. I don't think Dan Slott wants to twist the knife for us, but by making Otto so unlikable here, we're just going to wind up clamouring for Peter to return, and from the looks of things, that might be happening sooner than later. Another problem I have is how unbothered Otto is about his situation. I know we have the scene where he fumes over the fact that all the credit for his inventions at Horizon Labs will go to Peter instead, but then he just gets over it and moves on to ogling Mary Jane at their dinner date. So, not only is the new Spider-Man condescending and irresponsible, but he's also a colossal pervert. What a winning combination! Wouldn't the knowledge that he could never be himself around anyone ever again bother Otto? What's so superior about living a triple life? He'd probably wind up depressed after a while. This leads to another problem, which is the same as the one I had with Amazing Spider-Man issue 700 and Avenging Spider-Man issue 15.1. Now, there are 2 sides to this problem. The first is that Otto doesn't even try to talk like Peter Parker when he's socializing. This just comes off as lazy writing to me. Sorry, Dan. The guy has full access to Peter Parker's memories. We see him call upon them regularly for information. So why doesn't he use them to better imitate Peter's speech patterns? Surely he realizes what would happen to him if he got found out. The Avengers would lock him up instantly and no doubt find a way to bring the real Spider-Man back. The second is that no one, with the exception of Carly Cooper, seriously questions Peter's radical change in personality. This is made worse considering Otto is now working alongside a group of supposed geniuses. It's clear Dan Slott is trying to play Carly up as being smart, but in actuality, he's just making everyone else look dumb. Despite these problems, we do get a few interesting developments between Otto and the characters featured in these 3 issues. Otto pursues Mary Jane for most of the 2nd issue, trying to get in her pants like the creepy old fart that he is, only for him to change his mind after he realizes he's inherited Peter's feelings for her. He tells Mary Jane that the relationship she and Peter are in is a recursive loop, an equation that can never be solved, and the best thing that they can do is to move on. Now, like the Heaven scene in Amazing issue 700, this scene is well written, but it's offset by the fact that we only just saw Otto relive the memories of all the times Peter and Mary Jane had sex just so he'd get her out of his head. The first time I read this, I just thought Otto didn't care anymore, now that he'd sort of got what he wanted. That earlier scene just ruins the moment of character building that Slott is trying to portray. I do like how Slott plays up Otto's camaraderie with the Vulture, and how Otto tries to approach the situation with a little compassion maybe. Only for things to believably escalate when Otto hits one of the Vulture's cronies and discovers that they are in fact children, which causes him to relive his memories of being beaten by his father. By the way, I wish Slott had played that up a little more in earlier issues. It certainly would have made Otto more sympathetic. J. Jonah Jameson's interactions with Doc Spock are very entertaining to read. The scene with the spider signal in issue 3 actually had me laughing. Now I really need to talk about Ghost Peter. Some of the reviews I've read have complained about his presence here, and while I can see where they're coming from, I don't really have a problem with it. Since Otto isn't getting any major character development here, it's helpful to have Peter along for the ride. He helps lighten the tone and remind us that this isn't going to stick for long. And yes, that is a good thing. The only bit that I didn't like was when he calls attention to the fact that no one's noticing the difference in his personality. Dan, I don't think you should be calling attention to the problems here. The inclusion of Vulture and a new Sinister Six as villains is great. It's funny seeing Otto condescend to all of these second-string bad guys and get ticked off at them using the name Sinister Six. And while I only recognised one or two of the roster, I enjoyed the banter between all of them. I've already mentioned how I like the interplay between Vulture and Spock, and as for the Vulture himself, I found him quite menacing, even if I didn't quite understand his outfit. Where are the wings? Thankfully, the series retains its sense of humour. Most of it works, and I appreciate that Slott finds creative ways to employ it, rather than relying on Ghost Peter for the majority of the gags. The artwork by Ryan Stegman is very good. While it looks a little sketchier than his work on Scarlet Spider, it's very dynamic and everything's well proportioned. Ultimately, this is a very frustrating opening arc to Superior. Dan Slott is definitely a competent writer, but he calls attention to the problems in his script rather than just solving them. Thankfully, most of the problems I've listed are addressed in Avenging Spider-Man, which I've been reviewing regularly over on my blog. I would definitely say that Avenging is the superior title here. I'm giving issue 1 a 2 out of 5, issue 2 a 2.5 out of 5, and issue 3 a 3 out of 5. Thanks for listening, everybody.
I got 99